What was Singapore cryptocurrency industry like at that time, and who are the people who bought Bitcoin at that time?
I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft. Anson, do you know about Bitcoin? I said, is it like virtual Warcraft gold?
Yeah.
So my first Bitcoin that I bought, Bitcoin was only $70.
When we first launched, we gave away today's value about 750,000 US dollar worth of Bitcoin.
At the very first meeting, when meeting with MAS, they were thinking a group of gaming geeks going to meet up with them, talking about finance. When you meet MAS, your main objective is to get the second meeting. So
I think there was one point of time we were meeting MAS every month.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think at that time people didn't realize that actually buying Bitcoin through ATM is one of the safest.
Bitcoin ATMs can actually have a second life. This is a good platform to say. So
we raised about 150,000 Sing dollars from members' money to hire a lawyer to draft the first draft. It's called SPICE. To me, that was like the first draft for Singapore's Payment Services Act.
Preach a lot on the policy, because one of the main things that I really started seeing was there was a lot of money laundering issues.
So for 2 years, the police force actually sent, at least in the beginning was 5 police, almost 24 hours around like my startup.
Now that, for example, we have Bitcoin ETFs now, I think it's always to look at the history of why it came about first.
And you remember our friend Oscar, because I remember you gave some ampao money in Bitcoin.
I gave him 0.168 Bitcoin. He
Are you
still
sure
kept it.
So end 2013, beginning of 2014 was the time that I got into the foray of cryptocurrency. And now 10 years on, exactly 10 years on, so we think that it's a special time for us that I get connected with some of I call it the old comrades of the crypto industry. And today I have Anson Zeall with me. And I think before we started the ball rolling or the recording, we were just sharing some of the memories we had, what Singapore crypto industry was 10 years ago, and we had so much laugh. So again, I want to introduce myself. I'm the Managing Partner and the CIO of Revo Digital Family Office. Started Bitcoin ATM, brought in the first Bitcoin ATM into Asia in Singapore in City Hall, CityLink, if you all remember that. And now I'm in family offices, private wealth, fully focused in digital assets. Anson Zeall?
My name is Anson. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Compliance at dtcpay. We do payments in crypto, in normal payments, helping merchants, helping individuals make their payments easier. But this is a very important conversation for me, because 10 years on, there were so many war stories that we can share with you guys as well.
Yeah, and I remember when both of us started in the startup scene in crypto, was actually the first time Bitcoin ETF application was filed by the Winklevoss twins. It was exactly 10 years ago. Yes, and then that's why, a lot of times I said that it is not, for us, the industry has waited for 10 years for the Bitcoin ETF approval. But anyway, so I just want to bring us back to those times about what was Singapore cryptocurrency industry like at that time, and who are the people who bought Bitcoin at that time, right? Yeah.
So my first Bitcoin that I bought was in Hong Kong when Bitcoin was only $70. And then at the time, how I got to know Bitcoin was I was playing a lot of World of Warcraft back then, and then there was a friend, I won't call it a friend, online comrade that we played together, and said, do you want Anson? Do you know? No, Anson. It's a online name.
Your name.
My online name. Yes. Do you know about Bitcoin? I said, is it like virtual Warcraft gold? Because I just went to another website just to buy some extra gold to buy more of the swords, the weapons inside the game. So we know that these things will inflate because everyone keeps doing this. And he told me, no, you have to read the paper. There's only a fixed amount. Have a look. So when I read the paper, unlike others, everyone said once they first read the paper, they understood. I have no idea what the paper was actually trying to go on about.
And your background is computer science.
Yes, in computer science.
Yes.
Okay, so they were talking about digital payments, digital cash system. I had no idea. So I went back to that online friend, and then I said, how can I get to understand this? It sounds quite complex. He said, just go buy Bitcoin. Okay, where do you go? Go to a site called Local Bitcoin. I think it's still around, but it's sort of obsolete. It's I will call it the OG. Without that website,
Yeah, you meet somewhere.
yeah, meet somewhere. So I actually went online to that website. There was no KYC, user, password, and I tried to look for someone that was in Hong Kong, and it says meet up for cash to exchange in cash. So I readied I think so. It was $70. I bought 10 Bitcoin at that time. Okay, 10 Bitcoin at that time is $70. So I was willing to lose that plus my phone. I had that in mind already. So I went to the MTR in Hong Kong, met with that person. That person said, "Okay, give me your phone." So I was already closing my eyes. Just gave it to him. Okay, so I'm prepared to lose my phone already. So then gave me back the phone and showed, okay, I have 10. It shows on the blockchain, whatever that was, that there was 10 Bitcoin coming in. It says pending. Okay. So once it came in, I went back home to the same website, clicked it. After I bought that Bitcoin, basically I understood more than 70% of why this was so powerful. Because with this Bitcoin, it was the first time ever that you don't need to so-called cheat to buy something digital. Because when you buy from games, they don't allow you to buy outside. Okay, you buy outside and then they find you violating the TNCs, they will kick you out. But this is the first digital thing that I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then at the same time, we were with my then girlfriend, now wife, in family planning mode. We decided to go
buy more Bitcoins.
No, I wish I did. But even if I did, I would say my biggest lesson back then should have just put it aside and forget about it. But we went into CoinPip, convert some into CoinPip, and
by the way, CoinPip is Anson's startup.
Yes, there will be a story that I will be discussing next for sure. So, and we went to Singapore. Decided to go to Singapore because my wife now is Singaporean. And in terms of education, we thought Singapore was better. Okay, but my mind already was wanting to start a Bitcoin, not crypto, not blockchain. It was even before the blockchain became popular.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it then came out, and then I started posting on Facebook, try to look for founders. It was on 14th January 2014. Or was it the 10th? It was 10th or 14th. It was one of those days, between these days, that we started CoinPip. So it's interesting. I'll be jumping around timelines. The products that DTC has now is very similar to what I did before. I did a Bitcoin point of sales. Remember that was my first one? Yes,
I remember that.
And then we did third-party payments. DTC is doing that exactly now, but what's the difference? Difference was I didn't have a license then, and DTC has a license.
License at that time was not needed.
Exactly, license was not needed. So things back then was very cowboy town, okay? And I started meeting you, get to know you when we started the association Access.
Yes.
Right, so there were
not many of us, so we pulled together, huddled together.
Yes, and the reason we start this was because there were some what we call black sheep back then. The very full libertarians that didn't want to register anything.
They want to be regulated.
They don't want to be regulated. Kept saying that out, but we want to tell at least the Singapore government or some of the agencies that crypto and blockchain can be something useful.
Yes.
Okay. So at the very first meeting, when meeting with MAS, I know for a fact that they were thinking a group of gaming geeks going to meet up with them, talking about finance. And then we literally had I literally had the sense saying...
Do you remember which month and which year? It's 2014 for sure. But
we set up in May, June 2014. So after I started CoinPip, then 4 or 5 months later, it was that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards...
So you were the first chair.
I was the first
SS.
chair, yes.
I was the second treasurer.
Second treasurer, yes.
Yeah, but soon after the first one left.
Yes.
That's how we, I think, got to work together very closely.
Yes, and a lot of war stories.
A lot of war stories, yes.
So after meeting MAS with the first meeting, my mentor, who has now passed away due to cancer, told me my main mission there was, when you meet MAS, your main objective is to get the second meeting. That was what he kept telling me. And I understood that because if the first meeting you don't create the impression with the regulators, it's very hard to meet them the second time. So
I think there was one point of time we were meeting MAS every month.
no, every month.
At least every month, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years when we start having more members, more people know about crypto. We did a lot of events together.
I think just want to pause here because a lot of people we kept talking about the association. It's actually access, the association, ACCESS, because there are actually quite a bit of Bitcoin blockchain association in Singapore and Asia right now.
Yes.
But access is actually one of the first one which was set up 2014, 2015, that kind of era, and working very closely beside MAS, IRIS as well. Yeah, so
and Singapore Police Force as well,
yes,
SPF.
That's right. It's another story on the police side. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. So we started growing. We have I will call it the OGs from the board. Some of them did quite well. One of them now, one of the main leads for crypto in Temasek now. So
that's right.
He's definitely doing very well. And some of us went to do their own startups as well. And then interestingly, we actually our first degree friends with some of the founders before, like for example the BitMEX, we were actually started in the same period.
Yeah.
But it's interesting in hindsight looking back, we went very different routes.
I have an email from Arthur, I remember, we were both trying to save on shipping fees.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so we say maybe you want to ship to Singapore and ship to Hong Kong for Bitcoin ATM shipping fees. Then we're trying to see how we can save more money on the shipping fees. Yes.
Yes, and I talked to Arthur on Facebook a lot before because in Hong Kong I was also very close with the pre-Bitcoin association being set up, the guys there, because I also did my Bitcoin party, first Bitcoin party in Hong Kong. So that was fun, where it was really the first time that people understood how to use QR code. This is another story because back then QR code, we didn't really use Alipay, WeChat in Hong Kong as much back then. So when my founder told us, co-founder, the CTO, told us that we need to use QR codes, I was also doubting that what is this? What is QR codes? No one has been using this. But 10 years later, QR code is the main way to make payments. Yeah,
I remember when I first did my Bitcoin payment online using the QR code and stuff, I got like, wow, fascinated. I still remember 2014 when I paid for my Bitcoin ATMs. I used Bitcoin to pay.
Use Bitcoin to pay?
Yeah, I used Bitcoin to pay.
Oh, so you pay over to Lamasu, yes.
So it was buying plus every month. So we actually have a QR code that we pay, and it was instant, stuff like that. Almost instant, put it that way. When it wasn't too crowded yet.
Yes. Yes, so Lamasu was one of the big ATM suppliers back then, I remember.
And then most of my machines were from there. And talking about Bitcoin ATMs, because now that it's no longer available in Singapore, but I think at that time people didn't realize that actually buying Bitcoin through ATM is one of the safest, right, at that time. And then now I recall, because when I first launched the Bitcoin ATM, I just had a baby, and I still have a lot of images that I don't know whether you remember. Midnight, I would wrap around my baby, and then to fix the Bitcoin ATM machine, and then at the same time just making sure that my I call it the Bitcoin brain is connected with my machine, pair it, and make sure that fixing up. And my training is accountancy. So to me, it was a huge learning curve at that time while trying to juggle new roles as a startup founder, new role as a mother, and we were having
physical security of the Bitcoin ATM as
yes,
well.
there were just so much. And then at that time, there are people, because I have a Bitcoin ATM machine, and then there are people who put coins, physical coin, into the note slot and get stuck. So every day I have to again bring my baby to go there and pluck out the coin. Yeah, it's like, and I think at that time when we first launched, I was just sharing some of the numbers. We gave away today's value about $750,000 US worth of Bitcoin. Because we give away a few $1,000s then, right? And that time was about 200-300, and then it's about $1 million Sing that we give away in that one single day, because we were so afraid that people might not want to buy Bitcoin. So why don't we just give away some to create some crowd? But it turns out that there were a long line.
Wow.
Yeah.
That $1 million can do a lot now.
Yeah, and I think some of them are, if I'm not wrong, some of the customer are really retired, apparently, and then because they told me that they didn't know where to buy. So like you say, and in Singapore, of course, there's local Bitcoins, but there are not many platform to purchase, and that was post Mt. Gox.
Yes.
Yeah, so when that happened, people switched to physical means, either in person or a platform. Obviously, now we fast forward to now, there are just a lot of more options, and also proper KYC is done compared to during that time where license is not needed, and we were just trying to, I would say, bring to market something that we see so amazing, so powerful, that, and like you said, at that time, because it's so new, we are trying to work as best as we can with the regulators,
yes.
with police force, right? At one point in time, I still remember I was having my second baby, and they'd call me to ask me for help with I think a crypto exchange issues, and they were calling me like, do you know what will be the name of this account? I was like, no, how would I know? You don't need to register. Yeah, and you know, like just a lot of, I think they have also come a long way.
Yes, the police, even MAS has come a long way, which is why now that even though I've been working in policy, helping regulators on how to fit existing or come up with new ones for the crypto space, I actually think Bitcoin ATMs can actually have a second life. This is a good platform to say. So, for example, the reason would be now that we have SingPass, because what regulators needed to see is you need to know who the person is. You need to know. But
at that time, my ATM is linked to SingPass already.
Linked to SingPass already.
Yeah. But anyway, we can talk about that another. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think there are a lot of things that we are all learning as well.
Once you did the Bitcoin ATMs, then obviously there was a lot of people that got to know a lot of other services as well. So then we have other friends / comrades. For example, Yusho, the founder of co-founder of CoinHako, and then you have other founders. There was another competitor of yours that also joined the scene back then, the Tembusu as well. So I do have to pat ourselves on the back, because if it wasn't for us trying and testing, we became the guinea pigs for MAS to monitor to see if this is a good opportunity for Singapore, right? And I really feel what we did was good, because with all the before licensing started to come in around, the consultation papers of the licensing started to come around 2018.
Yes.
MAS saw that there's a whole community that they can talk to. We have over 100 plus, 200, reaching 200 plus members.
Because I'm a treasurer, I just want to say that we raised about 150,000 Sing dollars from members' money to hire a lawyer to draft the first draft. It's called SPICE. To me, that was like the first draft for Singapore's Payment Services Act.
Yes.
We raise our own money.
Yes.
Like we contribute so that Singapore can have a first draft. I just want to, I have to say tribute to the association.
Yes. So that is called the Code of Practice, where it talks about the AML/CFT practices that most of the crypto companies will use. And guess what? Today, the PSA, the PS Act right now actually uses many of the things that we wrote inside the Code of Practice.
Yes.
So that was also helping MAS to see how to yet be, we can call it flexible, but at the same time enforce on the rules that the international AML bodies, the anti-money laundering bodies wanted to see, yet at the same time allowing the companies to grow. And from that, with the meeting that I recently had with MAS, we can see that both sides really came a long way. Yeah.
And looking back our journey, right? Because that's why we say that sometimes there are issues or mountains. There are no mountains too high for us to climb.
Yes.
If we have gone through the path of how we started the whole journey, and it gets tough sometimes for us as startup founder, right?
Yes.
And I think that's why there are a lot of stories that we share, and bank accounts.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I think I had 2 bank accounts. Yes, I had myself in this journey of crypto 2 bank accounts closed.
2015.
2015. One was personal and one was the company. And only recently, because it actually links to our story, that there's the actual classification now on ACRA, which is like the company's repository of all the info of all the companies in Singapore, as a FI, financial institution, now that we can fill in. Back then, there wasn't such thing. So the closest that we had to fill in for our companies was IT development, software development.
Yeah.
So by the time when banks do their periodic checks, this is where we then get in trouble. And then the banks would kick us out, right? So, and then for my personal one, even though I did not get the reason for why, because the banks are not allowed to disclose, but the timing couldn't be more clear when I was just buying Bitcoin from one of the exchanges, and then a week later, it just got closed. So even back then, it was, even trying to purchase was already troublesome, but running a company without a bank account really implanted in my mind that we needed to do something. And that's why the code of practice and all that, I told MES very clearly, is we still have the bank account problem to solve. How do we work on that? And thanks to MES, they they facilitated the paper with the Association of Banks.
Yes, I remember the monthly meeting, and I think during the process, my daughter's bank account got closed as well, which means that we couldn't pay the school fees. Yeah, so it was but again, I think that problem hasn't fully solved yet, I would say, but it's a much better world we are living right now.
Yes, correct. So it's interesting because now that I'm with TTC, I can see a very big difference now how banks work with digital asset companies, crypto companies. Yes, even though they do treat this industry as still high risk, but they are still willing to engage. Back then, when you pre-licensing days, they don't even want to talk to you, and we had to find a way to get in just to get a bank account.
I still remember when my website, was Bitcoin ATM.sg or I mean the company is Bitcoin ATM, right? And I got a call from MES and say that, can you call it Bitcoin vending machine? Because ATM is a regulated activity, which I understood. So okay, so I actually changed it to Bitcoin vending machine. And later on, when it became two-way, because in the beginning it was just fiat in, money in, and you get Bitcoin in your wallet. And then later on, when it's both way, where you can actually sell a Bitcoin and get money instantly, I still keep calling it Bitcoin vending machine. So sometimes I would say Bitcoin ATM, but I would just keep it to Bitcoin vending machine until the licensing came about 2019, 2020.
This war stories with you are very dear to my heart. And the next part is we really went and, I will call it, dealt with the police, dealt in a positive and a good way. So a good way is that we've, till now, we have also always been invited to what they call the APAC events, where the police will invite the industry to network, to see how we can work together to fight crime. And obviously the main crime today, which is quite prevalent in the digital world, is scams. So but that wasn't really big until after the ICO days in 2018, right? Yeah, so ICO was also another very big time for us. So ICO is what they call back then the initial coin offering, where you use platforms such as Ethereum to create new coins so that you can, some will use it for what they call, if you have this coin, you can use this for the system. Some will use it for fundraising. So back then, as Access Chair, obviously we know a lot of members, and you as a treasurer, many were utilizing the fact that you can raise funds, quote unquote, raise funds. Why I say quote unquote, because it's not actually classified as money, right? It's not classified as money, but people were raising all these tokens, and then they have found many ways to either convert it to Ethereum. So once you're in Ethereum, they can convert it back to cash. And Singapore was one of the largest recipients of this fundraising. So it was a very big, I would call it a very big moment for us. I think there were eyeballs even from the government seeing, wow, Singapore has some traction.
I think at that time, our member collectively has raised, I call it, or received 600 million worth. 600
million, yes.
Market price at that time.
Yes.
So if they have kept it in crypto, but I think a lot of them has changed to fiat or cash to fund their operation.
Yes. And the ones that managed well stayed alive, and many didn't, as we know.
Yeah, and I remember there's a presentation, because I think we all have, I think we also both co-presented as well in presentation where they talk about other treasury management or traditional finance. I think both of us presented, and we tried to really, almost like spreading the gospel of blockchain, put it that way, right? Like trying to tell people that there's more to that what you see in the media, right? And then remember one of the traditional finance presentation I went to, it was about, I was trying to educate people what is really ICO, how is it different from the usual fundraising, and what are the benefits and what are the risks that we should look for. And after I finished my presentation, I wanted to have a Q&A. And I remember asking, say, any questions? And I turned around, organizer said, like, you just come down. And I didn't like what I said, which I thought I was just sharing a new way or what's happening in the blockchain world, and I have to cut short. I was literally in a way being kicked out of the stage to stop talking about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Yes, it's a pity, but yet at the same time, now CFA also teaches about crypto and blockchain too.
I teach module 1.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, charter holder as well. Yes.
Yeah, so things have really changed. The frictions that we kept pushing through I actually call it crypto is now in the mainstream finally, because now we have the Bitcoin ETFs finally being approved.
I think for that, it is more like an endorsement. It's almost like we have been like dating the industry for a long time, and finally the mother-in-law said approve, It's just like, that's how 10 years of like endorsement from the biggest asset manager. We knew that it's coming. It's just like when, am I right? And I think, that's why I think just dealing with the regulators, the police, and the people who are buying Bitcoin 10 years ago and now. I mean, we were just talking about our attire. Sometimes we go meet certain banks or meet certain counterparty. The dressing has changed because people we meet have changed.
Yes, and then there are so many, I will call it there are so many generations within the crypto space. So for example, even in around 2019, I did a presentation then. It was going through a bear market back then. For myself, I've been through 3 bear markets. So when I see a bear market crash, I'm like, okay, it's just another one of these days.
We're a bit, yeah.
We're okay. So, and then in one presentation, I actually asked everyone, does anyone know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? No one put their hands up. So we can say that basically now the Bitcoin ETF buyers are the ones that want exposure. They don't know the history, which is also good. I mean, the initial, I'll call it the OGs, have done their job. They wanted mainstream, and now this is one of the ways to push the mainstream, which is through Bitcoin ETFs. Right. And we have the Ethereum ETFs coming as well.
Right. Yeah. I would say in the past, a lot of, I would say, the early adopters who bought Bitcoin, and the question that they ask is also different. A lot of times the early buyers are very savvy with wallet management, right? Very savvy with confirmation timing, they understood. And I remember there was 2017, the confirmation took 12 days. There was a period of time.
Because it was so jammed.
Yeah, it was so jammed up. And I think now people are now, talking it as part of proper asset allocation, with the ETF, what is the exposure. I think the question they ask us is also vastly changed, right?
Yes.
And I think, we talk about police, just want to share, I think, was it 5-6 years ago when my startup, so for 2 years, the police force actually sent, at least, in the beginning was 5 police, almost 24 hours around on my startup. The reason why was nothing wrong with what I'm doing. It's just that they wanted to get in touch with the people who are buying Bitcoin. Because at one point of time, I think they were just concerned that it could be a way of, for certain businesses to get inflow without records, right? So they were trying to reach out to some of the buyer of Bitcoin, and only way for them to do that is really to stand by the Bitcoin ATM. You can't stand by on the online, right? To stand by the highest volume Bitcoin ATM in Singapore to just make sure that do they know what they're doing and stuff like doing their so-called their work. to protect the public. So they were there for 2 years. Yeah, so me and Anson, when we're having coffee in my office, we feel very safe most of the time, right?
The police are there watching over us.
Yeah, watching over us. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think from that time, the early buyers to now, because now that you are working with dtcpay as a platform, we want to share with like what has the profile changed?
Yes, profile definitely has changed, and there has been a lot more use cases that we've seen in crypto for mainstream to leverage on what we call stable coins. So stable coins are coins where I will quote so-called stable coins as what regulators call it, because they are
pre-stable coins.
Pre-stable coin, yes. So where you have $1, for example, in the bank, backed by $1, then you will have a crypto $1. We call that stable. However, it's the stable coin may not be stable. It's usually affected when markets crash or when there's a hack, and the value of the stable coin doesn't match the $1.
Yeah.
These things happen.
In fact, there are many kinds of stable coins, which we probably talk about another day. There are like, I think 7, 8 kinds.
Oh, wait, yes.
Yes, right?
Way more than that.
Back,
yes.
If you think about the bigger ones,
yes.
algorithm.
And now even MAS came up with is coming up with a framework for stable coins.
Right,
So,
the first paper is out.
yes,
Yeah.
so many things are moving quite fast, and there are legitimate use cases where certain industries would want to leverage on stablecoins to do business. So for example, usually the normal way to do cross-border business, you may need a letter of credit. Because stablecoins have become mainstream, some of them actually want to find ways to bypass them and quickly settle funds, even work with vendors to set up their own smart contracts to make the payments go through. So I see this as very good.
Changing the world, right?
Yes.
I think we spoke about that 10 years ago, I have to say. We feel like we were trying to change the world. I think finally, after 10 years, I would say in the middle, we were just fighting too many fronts.
Yes.
And then now, it is a time for us to really revisit why we were in cryptocurrency or blockchain industry to start with. What we love about the life-changing, world-changing kind of technology, how it would change the way we do business. And of course, in the beginning, we were working the regulators, trying to have regulations. In the middle, we were fighting no bank account. Nobody wanted to have lunch with us because they felt that they don't know what we're doing. And then till now, to finally, we can sit down without fear of, like you feel a bit of a safe place to really indulge again and to revisit what we really love about the whole technology, the different kind of business model, which sometimes, we share with each other. It's like, wow, okay, it's amazing. Like now that we have been talking about so many use cases, and finally some people are building it, some startups building it and bringing it to the next level, all the L1 solutions, the L2, and I thought, wow, yeah, finally.
Yes, this is... So which segues to the next point I find very interesting was, as I mentioned, I preach a lot on the policy, because one of the main things that I really started seeing was there was a lot of money laundering issues. And because of that, but at the same time, because we're both in crypto, I also value privacy.
Right. But when we talk about money laundering issues, there were issues that were expected. But when you think about the actual percentage of crypto as an overall pie of money laundering, it's very
small.
But
very
of course,
small.
am I right? It's like, 1%. They were the number that came out from World Bank.
Yes. So that's why all the policies that we put in from IDEXA, which is another association that I co-founded, because to talk to the international bodies like the OECD, the Financial Action Task Force, you need an international body. So I united most of the large associations together. But now I'm needing my own...
So I'm going to pause that. So Singapore Association is well represented in the international scene as well. Just in case you were wondering that, are we small as a crypto hub or wealth hub? No, we actually is one of the active participant in the global scene talking about crypto. Yes.
So Singapore regulators, some of the MAS representatives, are actually the heads of the policy group within Financial Action Task Force. So they actually lead FATF. So they actually lead a lot of the talks, and especially Singapore is really walking the talk. Then the industry becomes the guinea pigs at the beginning, which unfortunately that's the way it is. But I'm also in a way eating my own medicine. So now I can actually see the things that we preach, how people are practicing.
Right.
And that's why we formed a group of compliance officers to let MAS know we have this policy, but it's very challenging. And then because they know we're all licensed, the feedback loop is very, very productive.
You know what's amazing about this conversation, right? You know, we first talk about, innovation, someone with a computer science background, accounting, audit. We talk about compliance. We talk about innovation. We talk about startups, the greed that it was involved, and all these things. It's usually all come up into like 10 years.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then now we are doing things that we like, I would say, and where we seen that it could probably bridge the gap and where we could bring the maximum value.
Yes, and because I'm not just in compliance, I'm also by trade, I'm also an entrepreneur. So that's why I started my startup.
By trade or by blood?
By blood, I'm actually an entrepreneur.
I know,
so that's
right?
why
that's what we feel.
That's why the CEO put me as the strategy officer, because I can help.
I think we make the best strategy officer,
yes.
Yeah? High five.
By expanding globally in a compliant way. But by being compliant, it allows me to know that when we do something new, I won't be scared, because when we were in the pre-licensing days,
not intimidated by what's going on. Yeah,
yes.
I think that is really so. Like you say, when there's price movements, when there are ETF ejections or certain things going on, certain lawsuits, all the negative stuff that I want to just put it together. We know the background, and then we tend to be looking forward all the time,
yes.
Knowing where the industry could bring us and knowing where we could, again, I say, bring value to the industry.
Yes, exactly. Now doing things, I think it's to me right now it's actually easier, because back then a lot of the entrepreneurs would say the same thing. You sure would also feel the same. Is that when you do something new, you don't know if you're treading on the law, what will happen the next day.
That we want to do the right thing.
We want to do the right thing. So there are many sorts of founders, but our group of founders usually want to feel that they want to do the right thing, but because there weren't any policies around it, we get scared. But now I know all the policies inside out. It's very easy for me to come up with something new, and I'm okay, this is within the realms of the policy, not scared to push things forward.
I think we focus on the benefits of the technology,
yes.
And in turn churn out products,
yes.
And in turn make it realization of some of the vision, I would say, that we have. There are the changes that will be brought into the financial industry, into other aspects of our life, right? When we talk about, I know it sounds very big with all this buzzword of AI and IoT and crypto, metaverse, but I really feel that without crypto, a lot of this huge technology movement, they need crypto.
Yes, because when people say Web3, what the internet is missing right now is native payments. When I mean native payments, is not like where you use banks, where DBS or OCBC, any of the banks, even whatever JP Morgan, those are still intermediaries to the traditional system. Bitcoin was the first one to show that you can do something digitally and it stays there. And then from this, it then branched off to many different use cases, many different technologies, including the stable coins, leveraging our smart contracts to so that both sides don't need to trust each other to have payments, but once it's paid, then immediately it gets to the hands of the beneficiary. It's very amazing.
Anson, I heard you talk about this for 10 years. And every time, when you speak something about 10 years, it takes true passion, to repeat this with the energy and the conviction that you had. I mean, when you think about it, right, I think that is what I have to say. I have to say Singapore has been really lucky with a bunch of startup founders and people who cares about the industry here in Singapore. Am I right to say that?
Yes,
right?
I think the universe is getting me back on to doing something that I did before, when I had a time where I have to focus on regulation. But now that everything is done, the universe is saying to me, okay, get on with what you were thinking of.
I also feel that is probably even part of the responsibility for us to bring up the next generation of innovators, I would say, the movers and shakers. Like, hope that we can, whatever we have learned in the past, to help them along in a way. I felt like there's a responsibility for us to do that.
Yes.
So I mean, not to put us in the pedestal, but I felt that there's a lot that we could contribute still.
Well, we actually contributed in the sense where the new group now understands there is a need to know the existing rules for crypto before they innovate. We can see them actually talking about the ML's anti-money laundering stuff, all the things, and then they understand that before doing something.
Yeah, it's clearer now.
Yeah. It's clear.
And I think for, I would say for people or for observer or participant, we used to call people who buy cryptocurrency participants because it is not an investment. So for, I would say, most part of our career, we never use the word investor. But I think now, let's use the word investor. For people who would like to buy their first crypto, their first Bitcoin, the investor or cryptocurrency, what the advice or some of the key takeaway that you would like to share?
So obviously I'm not the financial advisor here, but this is, I will call it the entrepreneur advice.
Yeah.
It's now that, for example, we have Bitcoin ETFs now, I think it's always to look at the history of why it came about first. Why was Bitcoin here? So on my home desk, I actually have a picture of the first Bitcoin transaction that happened in 2009. And the hash inside says Bank of England, the chancellor. So it was a hidden message there, okay? Because that was the first reason why Bitcoin came about. So it was because of all the money printing that happened in 2008. So I think it's important to understand the history, and if you do think of going in as a investor, as you would say, then you need to know your why. For me, personally, it's because we need an alternative to hedge with all the different macro factors right now that's affecting money, especially.
But I guess when you say alternative, because a lot of people don't see the issue with the current options they have. So when we try to introduce the alternative, which we think is fantastic, a lot of time they go like, there's no issue right now, right? But I guess maybe it's a bit like by the time they know it's maybe too late. I don't know. I mean.
No, it's true. I actually now think that people see that there is a problem because wars are now going on. People have seen certain countries weaponizing their own currency. We are now really seeing it. And then the public news, Bloomberg, everywhere writes that as well. So there is a problem. And not everywhere you can buy, for example, gold as a buy is very hard to hold. Maybe for inflation hedge, maybe an option. So, but again, the main thing is obviously as same stance as the regulators here. It's not to speculate, but it's really to help you see if there's an alternative way to hedge the hard work that you have saved up.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And I think to go back to how you got started. Remember you said that when you first bought your 10 Bitcoins through local Bitcoin, and when you actually do that, because before that you're reading the white paper, and then when you actually do that, you start to learn like 70%, 80% of what you thought you should learn from the white paper. So maybe I think another thing is that it's just to buy a little bit of crypto and then start to get comfortable with wallets, the keys. Even though you may still want to go the ETF route, I think it's important to know what does it mean to actually own a digital asset.
Yes, because it's even 0.001 is actually a lesson to actually learn how the whole thing works. So jumping back to 2014, why I was very intrigued was that there is a link to every transaction that was made. So the days when I did CoinPip, which was the doing remittance through the exchanges, when there were funds not in my partner's account, I don't need to go and ask where's the money. I don't need to ask my bank. I don't need to ask. I can prove to him that the blockchain has shown that the money is with you already. Okay, so I shouldn't be the one that needs to ask, can you deal with it?
And you remember our friend Oscar, because I remember you gave some ampao money in Bitcoin, and then he have a wedding vows on the blockchain.
Yes.
You remember that? I thought that was also fascinating, where we like get together, we don't give fiat, we give ampao, and then
I gave
wedding
him
vows.
0.168 Bitcoin. He
Are
still
you sure
kept it.
Oscar, I just want to say that. He say I didn't say it.
Yeah, I still gave you 0.168, and I know you haven't converted, so that's a very good ang bao.
Because you can click it and you can see that
Yes.
the ang bao money is still there.
Yes, 0.168 now is quite a lot. Back then was just 50. My mind was just 50 Sing dollars.
Your 50 Sing dollar budget so low for ang bao last time?
Yeah.
No, now it's a lot of
That's
money.
many years ago, but now yes, that 0.168 is it's over 40,000 odd dollars.
Well done.
Yeah. Well done for him.
Maybe that money
well done for
can
him.
pay for the kids' tuition fees, college fees.
Yes,
but I guess when we talk about Bitcoin and buying cryptocurrency, I think the feel is that we may not have enough time for this episode was to really talk about what are the things, some of the altcoins, some of the innovation coming up, and some people will start to get interested in actually, beside being part of a startup, to invest in the startup as well, because it's such a wide, am I right, to some people who is new to the scene or the industry, they just don't know where to start. I mean, even for us, we talk about it. Sometimes when I go for a vacation for 2 weeks, I come back, I was like, wow, I need to text and say, hey, what's going on to this company? What happened, right? Things are moving just so fast. But to us, it's like if you don't get started on the journey, the train will just continue with or without you anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's important to keep learning, especially now we have all the things on YouTube that you can learn very quickly.
True.
Even when I talk to the governments, they would ask me, Anson, how do you learn all the things you've learned to talk the way you do? I tell them that I actually learn everything on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. And if you don't bother so much, maybe we can learn more. But I just want to say that I think with what we have shared so far, if any one of you guys want us to dig down into certain products, certain industry, even certain tokens that you are looking into in terms of where the innovation lies and what's so great about that, DP, whatever, decentralized finance, or to a beginner question like what kind of wallets and stuff, just write the comments below. Me and Anson will try to get back to you.
Yes, and anything on payments or use cases, still one of my passions as well as working with DTC. This I can help you as well.
Right. So meaning that any business who want to accept cryptocurrency.
Yes.
Right. And then is it safe? Any risk? Is it easy? Put your comments below. Anson will answer them. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.